All right, for this semester, you are going to be completing an environmental health risk assessment project. This project is 30% of your grade. And the biggest part of it is really about a 10-page literature review that is going to go with it. And that literature review will follow the 4-step risk assessment process, which I'll go over here in a little bit. But a risk assessment or health risk assessment is the process to estimate the nature and probability of adverse health effects in humans who may have been exposed to chemicals or other environmental hazards. So this could be through food, air, water, for example. You are going to be spending a lot of time on this project throughout the semester, so you definitely want to pick something that you're going to be interested in. So I want to just give you some tips for picking a topic because you will need to get approval for your topic. So it should be around a certain and specific disease, factor, pollutant, event, region, or other phenomenon. And I'll give you some tips on how to kind of find one too as well as we go forward. It needs to be narrowly focused rather than a broad discussion. So you want to also think about that your issue is going to be current or emerging and related to environmental health, of course. So, so when you select your topic, definitely make it meaningful and feasible to you. So you want to make sure that it is going to be achievable and that there's enough information on the topic, but then also that it's not, there's not so much information that you're going to be overwhelmed by how much information there is on it. So you absolutely need to be interested in it. As I mentioned, you're going to be spending a lot of time on it. So when you're thinking about what topic you want to pick, think about maybe if it has any impact on your present or future career. So is there any immediate impact that it could have on your employer? So you could consult with supervisors or your superiors for that. Also think about professional timeliness. If you're looking at taking a leadership position or a position in another area or department, that way you can, that would help with that. And then professional power. Does it have the ability to impress if you're on certain committees, publish an article, which I really want to encourage you to try to do with your paper. And we can look at the Virginia Public Health Association, for example. They really encourage students to publish with them, and they publish literature reviews, or we can look at other journals as well. That will help. Some examples that students have done in the past are here. So ionized radiation from medical diagnosis imaging and risk for cancer among medical workers. Another one here was maternal and postnatal early exposure to air pollution and the development of autism spectrum disorder in children. Pyrethroid pesticide exposure and the health effects specific to children. This next one was a little bit broader, health effects of flooding events on vulnerable populations in the United States. And I would recommend even narrowing that into a certain geographic area as well, the more specific, and then you can make recommendations. But the student did a very, very good job on this. Health effects of secondhand chemotherapy on caretakers, and then workplace burnout and mental health among healthcare providers. So you could look at these and think about different types of workers, office workers, police officers. So there are a number of different occupational health hazards. So you think about workplace bullying and intimidation factors, for example, job stress. Are some of the more non-traditional ones versus chemical exposures, but those could be done as well. Last year, student actually did about adult ADHD and workplaces, and that was really interesting. So there's a lot around different, Zika or tick-borne diseases. Alpha-gal is one of the more recent ones, and that way too you can think about geographic region as well. So one of the biggest mistakes is picking a topic that is too broad. So that's why I provided these examples with you here. So I did mention the flooding events in the United States. Having more of a geographic focus would make that one a little bit better. But again, they did a good job. So What you can do to get your topic is look through your textbook chapters and content for ideas, take a broad scan of literature that's already out there and look to identify a more narrow topic within that broad scan. There is a library guide for this class that just has some search terms that may be helpful for you. I'll just click on it here. There is also a link that you can look at for writing literature reviews. I'm going to provide some tips too and some online resources on Moodle for you that will help with that. You'll be doing some peer review. You'll be signed up here. So this just has some different resources here, and then there's some information too on lit reviews. So I'll go back to here. I've got a few things up. I did mention the EPA's planning questions or the risk assessment process. So that is linked here for you as well. And so there will be links on Moodle as well. And we'll be talking about this as we proceed. But this is the 4 risk assessment process. So you will be identifying the hazard and what health problems are caused by that pollutant. Then you're going to look at a dose response assessment and assessing that. So the different problems at different exposures. And we'll talk some more about that when we get into our toxicology unit. Also the exposure assessment. So how much of the pollutant are people exposed to during a specific time period and how many people are exposed. And then actually characterizing the risk and what is the extra risk of health problems in the exposed population. So what you're going to do for your first step in this is going to be, let's get over here. You're going to have it's called a PEO worksheet, the population, exposure, and outcomes. So this is going to help you get your topic and write out a research question to get you going. So this is what you'll use to get approval for your topic. And so you want to pick a population, and you can include specific problems here too, but again, specific population, the exposure, and outcomes. And we're looking at, health outcomes, even quality of life, for example, could be in there, and include your question here. An example is in infants, is there an association between exposure to soy milk and the subsequent development of peanut allergy? So when you write your literature review, we want to have a good method section once you're completed with that. So this is going to help you in having a good, clear search strategy, and then ultimately with that method section once you're ready for that later. But including all the key terms that you use in your search, any limits. So if you're going to go back only 5 or 10 years, English language, certain types of studies, for example, maybe humans, and you're not going to include animal studies, for example. And then list any reasons for excluding articles as well. So I've just given a couple examples here. So that could include maybe a number of types of participants and types of studies. And then make sure to also list the databases that you searched. So this is going to be the first thing due for this project. You'll get it approved. And then the next step will be to start gathering the evidence and creating a short proposal, evidence-based proposal presentation that you will post and for peer responses and comments for that. So I look forward to seeing what topics you have for this year, and please reach out if you have questions with that. If you are thinking of publishing, it's good to know from the start. And if you want to publish in, for example, the Virginia Public Health Association, then looking at topics that are important in Virginia right now and keeping the kind of the geographic area in Virginia would be definitely good for that. So again, reach out if you have questions, and I will look forward to seeing what topics you come up with.